glad you guys had a separate life.
Good evening. This meeting will come to order. This is the May 2015 Zoning Board of Appeals. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Chizola.
Here.
Mr. Haberman.
Here.
Ms. Ferrante.
Here.
Mr. Soda.
Here.
Mr. Vicino.
Here.
Ms. Eggleston.
Here.
Mr. Dubois.
Here.
Mr. Thomas.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also present this evening is Meg Green, our recording secretary, and Stephen Harris, our zoning officer. If you feel that there's a commissioner on this board that might be a conflict of interest to your hearing, please let us know. On the agenda this evening, item number 106 Merwin Avenue has been withdrawn. So we'll go right into item number 2.
Item number 2, 1 Oakland Ave corner at 195 Welch's Point Road. R5 Oakland 1 LLC owner, various section 6-2-1, non-conforming use, and 6.3.2, non-conforming structure to enlarge dwelling at 195 Welch's Point Road, which is a second dwelling on a lot where only one dwelling is allowed. 3-1-4-1 side yard setback to 4.7 feet where 5 feet required to erect second floor with second story addition. Map 28, block 570, parcel 38.
You want to close it? Is that fine? Fine.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Peter Crabtree. I live at 64 Stanley Street, New Haven, Connecticut, 06511. Tonight, we have a somewhat unusual application. First, I'll just go into the project description. There's 2 houses on one lot, and number 1 on Oakland Avenue, there's no construction there whatsoever. House was built in 1915. The second house was built, which is the subject of the variance tonight, at 195 Welch's Point Road, was built in 1925. And as you know, the zoning regulations came into effect in 1930. So we do have a non-conforming situation here, which I'll get into in a minute, but I'll just briefly describe the project. It's an old one-family home with to be charitable, a nondescript roof line, and I'll show you that in a minute. And we propose to put a full second floor on it and then put a 2-story addition on it. And the lot is over 6,000 feet. It's in an R5 zone, so we don't need a lot area variance. We don't need a coverage variance, but we do need a side yard setback from 4.7 to 5 feet. So if you do the math on that, it's a little more than 4 inches that we're here before you tonight. And the other problem is because we need a variance, it's considered a non-conforming structure. So one bag has the weight of the other bag in it too. And we feel that under the circumstances that we're certainly not asking for a lot to make this a bona fide project. In addition, the owner is going to gut the first floor and modernize that portion of the building too. With that said, Everything's pretty self-explanatory on the plot plan here, and you all have copies of that. This is just to demonstrate that the floor plan is being changed around on the inside. We are putting up a deck. The deck will be conforming, and the distance between the homes are conforming. Basically, this is what you see from Welch's Point Road, and our roof line does leave a lot to be desired, and I'll flip back the pages to show what we're going to do. This will be the house now. You know, and frankly, that's that view that you'll see from Welch's Point Road. I think it's a major improvement here. And again, we're here before you before about 4 inches. And of course, we do have to talk about the non-conforming use because there are 2 structures on a lot. And of course, if I had to make a list of all the obnoxious non-conforming uses, we could probably start with an atomic power plant, work down to an industrial plant, then work down to a alcoholic beverage or building, then you could get down to a parking lot. And I think of all the non-conforming uses, this one's probably the least onerous that, you know, in the pecking order of things. So we think that we're asking for is a reasonable request. And lastly, when you're looking at granting a variance, there needs to be something unique about the property. And one of the things that I discovered here, this little red dot is where the property is, and this is number 1 Oakland right here. But all of these houses along here in a distance of over 1,200 feet, none of them face Welch's Point Road. They all face the side streets. So in effect, have an unusual situation here that although this house is in a neighborhood, it's really all by itself. This house here backs up. There's like a 27-foot rear yard here, and there's a fence there. So they do have neighbors, but they don't have neighbors. And just to verify that a little further, I have some pictures to pass out. Again, the pictures just reinforce what you see on the plot plan, and you can see that the home that we're not touching at number 1 Oakland Avenue is well maintained. And then the other thing I'd like to refer your attention to is the last page in the packet, and I actually took that picture from the driveway from 195 Welch's Point Road. And it's the only house on this stretch of the road that actually looks out over some open space, and that's why I brought that picture on. It virtually has no neighbors, even across the street. So we think that that adds to the uniqueness of the situation. I won't belabor the point any further. If you have any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Oh, well, by the way, we did do a CAM report and submitted that.
Okay, questions? Mr. Soto, go ahead.
Could you state the hardship?
The hardship is that the property was a pre-zoning lot, they're pre-zoning structures, and we're asking for the minimum amount possible, which is a mere 4 inches. We're not looking for even a foot here, and that we do have some unique aspects that don't apply to the rest of the houses on the street. And as I pointed out on the map there with the yellow and the red structures.
The size of the present house is this compared to the proposed size?
It'll be enlarged, but the current structure right now is conforming with regard to floor area.
I know you've mentioned a few times it's only a small variance, and you know that's what we do. We do some small variances, but we're looking at a density issue here, and you had even stated that yourself because there's 2 houses on one lot. We haven't been approving things that have come before the board in the last 6 months to a year, allowing more density to the property in 2 houses on one lot.
Well, we're starting with 2 and we're ending with 2, and there's no conversion here. There's only going to be 1 unit at number 1 Oakland Avenue, and this is going to remain as a 1-family house. So, you know, strictly speaking, on a density level, we're not really changing anything, and we're not needing a floor area variance.
Are they 2 separate pieces of property, or are they 1 piece of property?
No, it's 1 piece of property. Otherwise, you know, we wouldn't need that variance as a non-conforming use.
There are 2 pieces of property. One is 1 Oakland, and the other one is 195
Well,
Welch's.
it's one property with 2 homes. The parcel is known as number 1 Oakland Avenue, but because of the second house there, needed to identify it with its own separate address, so that's why it says 195 Welch's Point Road. And there were 2 signs posted on the property, and you can see the back of the sign that was posted on that last picture in your packet, or in the lower left-hand side.
Was this built as a house when it was first built, or was it a garage that was converted into a house?
I can't answer that question. I don't know. I mean, the original structure was 1925. I'm not going to tell you something that I don't know. I mean, obviously, looking at the building, it isn't something that's a recent conversion. That's the only thing I can tell you. I mean, we used to have the 1929 tax cards, and downstairs in the vault, and when the Jago administration was in office, the flood from the river wiped out the cards, so we lost our oldest packet of verification, because that went back before the 1930 zoning regs.
Any other questions for Mr. Crabtree? No other questions?
Right, you are increasing, and you said you have a small variance, but you are increasing the non-conforming use of this property. You're adding an 8 by 32 foot 2-story addition to it. So it is a substantial increase to the non-conforming use of this lot.
Well, we're increasing the non-conformity of the setback, but it's a very marginal amount. We're talking about less than a foot. The other thing I want to point out is that nearest neighbor has a rear yard here of 27 feet to his fence back here. I mean, you can see that from the plot plan. So, you know, if you were to drive by and you saw this variance granted for the 4 inches or 4.2 inches, you'd never know it had to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals. And in other words, it doesn't really change the rhythm of the neighborhood or anything. And I do think you'd have to admit that the proposed facade is a major improvement.
Any other questions? Ms. Ferranti?
I don't really have much of a problem with the second floor because although 2 structures is non-conforming, it's pre-existing. But to then extend it out and ask for the second side yard variance, I'm having a little bit of trouble with that. I mean, if it's only 4 inches, why can't we pull it back 4 inches?
We could do it. Would put an unnecessary jog in the house there to do it. I mean, I just think architecturally it makes kind of a mess of it to just jog it in arbitrarily. And ironically, if you're going to do that, probably should recess the second floor, which would make it even more awkward. As I say, we're talking about, maybe a space like that. That, that we're really, it's really on the point of discussion. So I think architecturally it just makes sense to, smooth it out to go all the way across. I mean, the other thing I'd just like to point out, from a housing standpoint, houses don't come up for variances very often, and this is a chance to make a major change here, and the owner's willing to do it, and we're hoping you'll indulge us.
Mr. Crabtree, maybe you'd indulge me in some information about who lives at the house currently and what the plans are. Not that it will change my perspective, but I just would like to hear that information.
The house on the corner is a rental. The owner of the property lives in Stratford. I've had a prior conversation with him. He's here tonight, and if you'd like to hear it from him, I can have him stated on the record. But he intends to either live in the front house, meaning number 1 Oakland Avenue, or he's going to live in this house at 195 Welch's Point Road.
Okay, so he currently doesn't live on the property now. Both are rentals now?
They're both rentals now. Well, one other thing I want to point out, and it's in the picture. You'll notice that there's a pickup truck there, and he's parking partly on the lawn. And that was one of the things I noticed when I first went out there. And I recommended to the architect and the surveyor to widen the parking lot there by about 2 feet. So they'll have a bona fide parking for 2 cars off the street, and number 1 Oakland Avenue has a bona fide 2 cars parking off the street, because there's no parking at all on Oakland Avenue either side. So we're okay on the parking, and that'll eliminate any parking on the grass, and we're okay on the lot coverage and building coverage.
All right, any more questions, Mr. Soda?
Well, now that you mentioned widening the driveway, by putting that 8-foot addition on the front, you're only going to have a 13-foot driveway for parking. 13.3 according to your survey. You're not even going to get that truck in there.
Okay, that 13, the line tapers, so we do have a little more than 15 feet. I mean, I can get my ruler out, but it's gonna be an improvement. I should point out, by the way, and going out there, there's no sidewalks on Welch's Point Road on that side. It's only sidewalks on the other side of the street there. So, will it be completely compliant? Possibly not, but it'll be very close, and it will be an improvement, that we're volunteering to do.
Any other questions? Anyone else speaking in favor of this application? No one else speaking in favor of this application? Okay, is there anyone here opposed to this application? If you're opposed, please come forward. State your name, please, your address.
Good evening. I'm Attorney John Barone.
Would you pick up that microphone?
I'm Attorney John Barone. I represent Lauren Julian, who lives at 7 Oakland Avenue. She intends to address the board as well. I will just be brief. I think some of the flaws in the application are obvious. I have not heard any articulation of a legal hardship that would justify variance in this circumstance. The area is very dense to begin with, and you're being requested to allow an expansion of a non-conforming dwelling, and where there's 2 homes or 2 dwellings where there should be 1, and non-conforming use. It just is not justified based on the application that I heard tonight. That is your decision, but however, it would appear to be flawed and should be denied. I'm going to ask Lauren to address you regarding the circumstances at 7 Oakland Avenue.
Hello, my name is Lauren Julian. I own 7 Oakland Ave, Milford. I talk with my hands, so I need to get this situated. How's that? Almost? Almost. How's that? Okay.
So it's comfortable for you.
That's okay. We'll deal with it. You've seen this on Saturday Night Live. So the situation, I'm not professional about this, so it's not going to be in any particular order. Because we have a non-conforming lot in an R5 area, if the second dwelling, as I know from the neighbors, was a garage originally, converted, why are we allowing that, since it's come up as part of this parcel for the variance, why are we allowing that portion to be resided in anyway, when only one building should be occupied at that location? One point. The neighbor, just in discussing this with the neighbors, there's a bend in the road right before that location at 195, that we're referring to at 195. And I know when I was doing the addition at 7 Oakland, my father was at the house and he minded the construction. He had difficulty taking the turn out of that road because you can't see people coming very well. And if the structure that they're proposing, which I'm against, is going to be put more forward, and the obstruction with the parking will just add to further difficulty in being safe, having a safe turn, whether you're going right, and more difficult if you're going left. Recently, trees have been removed from that whole area, all around that parcel that we're talking about, and now it begs the question, what else is being planned for parking or paving or whatever? Maybe that's not part of this, but living at 7 Oakland for as long as I have, everybody from that area, from my point of view, parks on Oakland where they're not supposed to. Only a couple of times did my people park on Oakland and the police were there. I don't know why. I don't think I have enemies at Bayview, but that's happened numerous occasions, many, many, many. So I think with having another dwelling at 195 Welch's is going to add to the visitation and the people that park against the law on Oakland. One moment. I would also be interested to know in the plan, because the trees were removed from in front of the chain link fence on Oakland side, what else might be being planned for the use there, because that butts up against my driveway. I think that's about all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking against this motion? Anyone else speaking against this motion? Okay, Mr. Crabtree, you can rebut.
I'd like to talk about that parking on Oakland Avenue. I mean, I don't want to plead guilty as charged here. We have an obligation as homeowners to use our 2-car parking on Oakland Avenue, which is definitely conforming. And I don't think this variance should be condemned on an allegation that the house is being used improperly. That's on number 1 Oakland Avenue, which isn't even tonight's focus of the application. Number 2, with the trees, this is your lucky day. I was out there at the time that the utility company's tree hiring service was there, and the trees were taken down because they were interfering with the wires. It had nothing to do with the intent of the homeowner. I mean, if you want, we can have the homeowner get up and verify that statement. But I just happened to be out there that day taking the pictures, and he asked me who the homeowner was, so they wanted to get in contact with him to tell him what the situation was. And also, I just go over the variance one more time. We keep bringing up the density issue here. There's no change in the number of dwelling units on the property. We have 2 dwelling units. It's going to stay 2 dwelling units. And the variance we're asking for is a mere 4 inches. And as I say, in the scheme of things, if you did deny the variance tonight, still going to have a non-conforming use there, and it's not going to be as nice a building as if we're allowed to improve it. Thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions? No other questions? Okay. Thank you. This hearing's closed. Gentlemen and ladies, it is a density issue. It's not a matter of a small variance. He had made some comments about the trees. I know that they've been taking trees down in this neighborhood. The UI's been going around taking trees down, so that we're not even considering that. I don't think we're even focusing on it all on the driveway. I think we're just focusing on the proposal we have in front of us to make this house larger. 2 houses on 1 piece of property. So, what comments you might have or what your thoughts might be.
Well, I don't think they've stated I don't think they've proven a hardship.
Mr. Haberman?
I think the concern I have, and the concern this board has had in the past with similar applications where there's 2 houses on the lot, is increasing the non-conforming use. And I think people have a right to have what they have, and that's how it is, and improve what they have. But to increase the footprint, I think, is the issue that I struggle with.
Any other comments? Mr. Soto?
I mean, when they bought the property, it was non-conforming. They knew that. They knew what they were buying, and now they want to enlarge it. I don't see it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ferranti, you look like...
I agree. It was what it was when it was purchased. It's a non-conforming lot, but it was known. We're not asking anything to be taken away, but to increase the non-conformity. And I have an issue with the setback variance as well.
Okay, any other comments or a motion?
I just echo the points that the commissioners have made. I don't see a legal hardship made for this, and my concern is that we would be increasing already existing nonconformity. As we've said before, we're not depriving owners of their property the use that they currently have, but when you start to expand beyond that, that's something that then we have to take into account all of the rules that every citizen's got to abide by within the zoning regulations. And that's how we run it.
Okay, we need a motion.
I make a motion to deny.
Second.
Denial is based on they did not prove a hardship.
Okay, we have a motion to deny, and we have a second on the motion. Ms. Ferranti?
With the motion.
Mr. Haberman?
With the motion.
Mr. Soto?
With the motion.
Mr. Fazzino?
With the motion.
I'm with the motion. It's denied. Okay, moving on. Let's see. Old business? Do we have anything under old business?
We do.
No?
Yep, we do.
Yes, we do? Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, we have the correction of the minutes from 10 February 2015.
I thought that might have been under new business. Okay. Let's see. It was from the February meeting, Scribner's era.
Yeah, all the
We're gonna
commissioners have a very last piece of your package.
The last piece of paper.
Should reflect the
Take a look at that.
error.
And Meg Green is going to give us a short summation on what we're looking at here, and we have to make a correction here and re-vote on this.
There's a small, in your handout, there's a concatenated page showing a piece of volume 20, is it 28, 29, 29?
28.
28, page 28. 207 and 208. And the problem with the, if you refer to the top of the page, to the page 207, there's a reference to Mr. Haberman recusing himself and Mr. Vecino, I believe, both of them recusing themselves on the vote. And this had concerned Zero Tanglewood. Later on the next page, I include, due to a cut and paste Scribner's error, I included those 2 gentlemen in the vote when it should have been Mr. Dubois and Mr. Thomas. So what I would ask in order to correct, amend, and then accept the February minutes is if In both instances, Mr. Dubois could be substituted for Mr. Haberman and Mr. Thomas for Mr. Vicino, and then it will read properly. So if there could be a motion, and feel free to say so moved, and I'll craft the words, to substitute those two gentlemen for the
Mr. Soto?
other.
Meg, under board discussion, it says Mr. Soto was originally opposed to the projects, but
That-
that's where we changed it to.
That one I
was in
changed
favor.
already,
Okay.
yes.
Because I was originally in favor.
Yes, I did change that one too. Meg was having a bad day.
By the statements that Meg has made, Meg Green, we need a motion to change the names. So, we have a motion.
I make a motion to change the names to reflect the corrections.
Please state the names. Please state the names.
Now you're gonna make me do that, Andre? Okay, so we're changing Haberman to Dubois, or
Mr. Dubois.
Haberman to Mr. Dubois, and Mr. Vicino to Mr. Thomas.
Correct.
Okay.
We have a motion. Second on the motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very
Okay.
much, Board.
That was old business. Let's see here now. New business. Do we have any new business this evening? No new business. Do we have any staff updates? Anything going on? Been quiet lately. We have one hearing tonight. We had two. So that first one is not coming back. How are we looking for next month? Anything going on?
It's one
Just one? So? Once?
so far.
So far? Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. This meeting is adjourned.